Hello, good morning. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Today I want to talk about, a quick, no-cost way to reducing anxiety and getting calm, right? So sometimes we're so busy looking for the wow outside fixes outside of ourselves. We forget about the little ones that we have that can help us instantly and quickly. Obviously, at the moment, there seems to be a lot of anxiety in the world. I'm noticing when people come to me, obviously they overcome with anxiety because of job loss, fearful of the future, wondering how they're going to pay the bills. Some people come because even though they have a job, they come because they're dissatisfied in their job and they're experiencing anxiety over the fact that they feel purposeless, wonder if they're ever going to have those moments of fulfillment and purpose again. And that can cause anxiety. So before I get into, what I consider one of the easiest and quickest fixes for this, I want to share a little bit about when I was going through my personal crisis, probably 2 decades ago now. Ended up in a bad situation financially. My relationship had imploded and I was left pregnant and massive debt loss and so forth. So that was a very anxiety inducing time for me, right? I remember being worried, in that constant state of worry and fearful about there was a baby on the way. Didn't know how I was going to clear the debt because I was about to go on maternity leave, which means reduction of income. And so I started seeing a counselor, and one of the first that she did with me was teaching me about breathing slowly and deeply. She spoke to me about the fact that we mostly do shallow breathing, and that one of the ways, the fastest ways, anxiety is to learn to breathe slowly and deeply. I remember looking at her with that sideways, what? What's she talking about? But she took me through a couple of exercises. And so this is what I'm sharing today, is that we forget that we have our breath all day, every day, for as long as we're alive, we have our breath. And it is, in fact, the quickest, fastest way to calm yourself down and to reduce anxiety. But we don't think about it because it's not some glamorous outside of ourself fix that we often overlook it. And I certainly wasn't thinking about my breath as a means to reducing anxiety and to, getting some calm back in my life back then. I did not know that at the time, right? So anyway, this is what I was taught, and I want to pass it on and share it with you because I have used it many, many times over the years since I was taught this way of breathing. And it is a go-to method for me when I feel particularly anxious or I feel like I don't have any answers and I'm struggling and I'm in turmoil and I'm having difficulty sleeping at night and things like that. I find that when I do various breathing techniques, it actually helps. So here's one. One of the things she told me was that you got to learn to lengthen your exhale. So apparently short, quick breaths can cause hyperventilation. It's connected to the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response mode. And so that can cause hyperventilation, which is in fact going to cause more anxiety. But the exhaling part of breathing is connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, and that influences our ability to relax and calm down. I definitely did not know that at the time, but it actually started to make sense when I started practicing it. So what she taught me to do was to inhale slowly for the count of, say, 4, hold the breath for the count of 4, and then exhale for the count of 6 or 7. So basically make your exhales longer. So I started practicing this, and there was another trick that she taught me, but I'll share that with you in a minute. So in for the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, and exhale for the count of 6 or 7, making the exhale longer. So you begin these rounds of breathing and you try and do it for about 10 rounds. The key is to stay focused on the breath. Because here's the thing, it's almost impossible to experience anxiety when you're focused on deep breathing, right? You can't actually do the two at the same time. You can't be anxious and be super focused on deep breathing at the same time. So even if you only end up giving yourself 5-minute respite from your anxiety by doing these rounds of breathing, it's going to help. So this type of breathing, this, inhaling for slowly and then holding briefly and then exhaling for a longer exhale, can be done sitting, standing, or lying down. So that's why for me, that's like the easiest, no cost way to get into that place of calm and to get into the place of calm quickly, just by doing these rounds of breathing. There's other deep breathing techniques like this deep belly breathing where you usually, and that's this one you usually do lying down. So you lie down on your back, one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. You can't see my belly in the video, but one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. Taking the deep breath and pay attention to the belly rising. The chest should be reasonably static, reasonably still. And then purse your lips when you're exhaling. And once again, exhale for a longer count. And as you're exhaling, try to engage the stomach muscles to push the air out of the body. So that exhaling exercise is actually all about pushing the air out. And I started to imagine it pushing the anxiety out as well. And the other tip that she gave me to do was, while you're doing these rounds of breathing, try to think of a word, one word, kind of like a mantra. It can be anything. But I found the words relax, calm, or safe, or even love. Those words seem to work best for me. So I would simply go in, inhale, hold, exhale, and just focus on those words. But the key and the trick is that you stay focused on the breathing or focused on the word that you've chosen to use as your mantra. Because when you're focused on something else, you don't have time to focus on or feel. So remember, it's almost impossible to experience anxiety in those moments that you're doing and actively practicing these deep breathing techniques. You may feel anxious moments after, or half an hour later, or 15 minutes after you've done this breathing, but in that moment of doing the breathing, it's almost impossible to experience the anxiety and that slow, deep breathing at the same time. So my suggestion is to practice it often. Do these rounds of breathing every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes or every hour, if that helps. Because it's like everything that we do in life, everything that we practice and practice consistently becomes a habit. It also starts to train the brain. So I found that sometimes when I have anxiety or worry or fear, and I get into that mode of breathing, starting that exercise almost as soon as I started, it's as though I'm signaling my brain that it is now time to let go of that anxiety and to move into calm mode. So the brain, I think, over time has become trained to do that because I've done it so often, and I still do it often, that the brain recognizes the signals. And then I notice I start to calm down really quickly. Very simple technique, doesn't cost a thing. So, hopefully it's useful and that you try it and we find ways to reduce anxiety. Because when we're thinking about anxiety in terms of living our life, and, I'm obviously in the career space, in terms of job hunting, having a better career, you can't actually move forward in that process if you're in an anxious state. People can smell it. Recruiters will smell it. Hiring managers will smell anxiety, fear, worry, all of those things. And that does not instill a sense of confidence in people. So really, really important to try and manage anxiety in life. And that's just a really quick and easy way that I know of and that I hope helps you. Hope you have a great day. And as always, bye for now.